Welcome on in, everybody. So, I know I said I would play some Musket Greatsword, but I lied. I switched to Greatsword Firestaff. I do actually have a bit of a written guide to this build in a link down below, and there's a bit of a breakdown for this build at the end of the video if you guys are curious as to what I'm running. But we're going to go over the gameplay, talk about the build decisions, and that gameplay commentary, of course. Number one, with this build, it was about getting Firestaff and Greatsword damage to both be good. So I had two options I could go here. I could go for the Inferno plus a Greatsword of choice, or I could go for Serenity with an Elemental gem slotted into it, and then a Firestaff of choice. I opted to try Inferno this time around, mostly because I wanted to have really good Firestaff damage and not have to give up anything for it. And I feel like with the Elemental Conversion Gem on the Greatsword, yes, Serenity hits super hard, but you end up giving up a lot of damage for it. So, the Inferno is scaling decently with strength. I think my actual Firestaff damage is not bad. You'll see I get a few nice hits with it here, but the big downside to it is the burns. They don't scale from strength still, so my burn damage is incredibly low, and 4 Firestaff burns are incredibly important to finishing targets off, and it's a big part of Firestaff's overall damage output too. So I definitely feel that. It's not like the Firestaff isn't viable, but it doesn't feel like I'm playing a 100 con Firestaff. It feels more like I'm playing a 150 or even 200 con light armor Firestaff, just damage-wise. But anyway, big blast off the Firestaff there. The fireball comes down into that spin, and he ends up going down. The Greatsword is doing crazy damage on this build, and I love the setup with all the dots. Even though the Firestaff dots aren't that great, we got a lot of bleed from Greatsword too, so it's a lot of pressure if we hit somebody with all of our crap. And there's a nice roll on the incoming hammer player. I go for the burnout through, and I manage to land a decent amount of damage on them. But these guys are both pretty tanky, and this is always a tough fight for us light armor players, is to have to confront those tanky boys, especially when they're spamming something like Flamethrower. I chanced it and went for the crosscut, canceling out to the roll there. Got really good damage. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to finish him off. I squirrel outside, but they both follow me, and I go for that reverse strike on the Greatsword. I don't know about that versus Calamity Counter. I think if I had the Calamity Counter perk on my Greatsword, I would prefer that. But the stagger from that strike is really nice. On top of it, it does a pretty decent amount of healing. So it can definitely be a good turnaround as long as you time it in between your opponent's grit. And then this guy, he goes for the knockdown, and I have grit up thanks to that cross slash. Unfortunately, I eat the next hammer stun, and yeah, not afforded a lot of mistakes on 100 con, that's for sure. So I end up going down. Now, moving on to the next fight. This fight here is a great example of a nice kitey build fighting your very heavy armor tanky players. And this is something that I get a lot of questions about when I play my squishier builds, especially in melee range. How are you going to fight anybody who is durable and in heavy armor? They're just going to kill you if you try to trade. You have to use that speed. You have to use the increased mobility, the distance on that dodge roll, and pick and choose your moments to engage. You can't try to force your big combos. You have to wait for the opportunity for them, and there it is right there. Big connection on the heavy attack right away into the reverse slash, giving us grit, ensuring we can finish off that combo. And I just think he didn't think we would connect that heavy at the end there. And the Sword and Shield player keeps the pressure on me. Another player ends up showing up as well, and I get hit by the stagger as I'm trying to escape. Now, this is a pretty rough situation. They're both really close to me, and I should have gone for a bit more direction change to try to escape that. And as they get really close to me here, I do actually go for that direction change, and look at how much space it affords me. Again, I dive right into that hammer stun, just well timed on his part, knowing I'm going in for that offensive combo and getting me coming in with that counter stun. So I am unable to really stick out the combo on this guy. I get really good damage though. He goes for his spin, gets good damage on me. I go for the poke. Unfortunately, he's too far away, and he ends up healing up, and now I'm in pretty big trouble. More red players coming around the corner. I pound those potions back and get back behind a little bit of cover, and then of course the burnout back through the group. I love doing that. I didn't hit anybody with it, but again, the turnaround just affords you that additional space, and it comes in so handy. And there's where the Calamity Counter would have been nice. I could have got a good counter move with it on that Greatsword player, but oh my god, huge crit on the spin, and that guy goes down. Massive damage from the Greatsword there, and now it's me and what looks like a light armor Sword and Shield Great Axe player, and I get some nice damage in him. A friendly comes and puts some damage in too, and he right away goes to retreat. I follow him around the corner, throw those fireballs down. He does a great job reading me around the corner, gets that counter stagger. I go for the spin. Beautiful job dodging those attacks, and then he goes for the leap to break that distance. So I can't get the finish on him there. And I just miss. Oh, man. It's just too far away. I shouldn't have even gone for it, but either way. I go for the burnout back through, completely lose track of where he was because his nameplate disappeared for a moment. And here you see he gets a couple chops on me, and this guy has some big damage, so we both have to be very careful how we trade with each other here. And yeah, I managed to get a good counter combo on him, but he stays very aggressive with that Great Axe. I know the spin's coming, just break enough distance with the roll there. Really important to keep that critical distance before you go for that burnout, making sure that you can actually wind it up without getting chewed up. And I eat his incoming stagger, quickly trade with my own stagger, spin through him with the spin to win, and a big smack with the Greatsword heavy attack. Unfortunately, I miss all of the crosscut. He ends up dodging it, and he does manage to survive that combo. And yeah, more red players kind of coming into the fight here. I can see in the background the Sword and Shield player ends up jumping on top of me with the stagger. I try to go for the spin, and oh my god, just stuck in stagger hell. I do my best to try to get behind some cover, but yeah, there was just bad positioning on my part. Should have been a bit more careful and moved myself to a spot where I knew I would have a little bit more cover or a place to retreat when the enemy showed up like that. Anyway, moving on to the next fight. Little bit of a Zergy fight here because I wanted to show what this build looks like when there's a lot more action on the screen. Holy crap, that crosscut dealing over 8k damage on the first two swipes. Such a clean cancel, so much damage. I'm telling you guys, this is probably my new favorite greatsword skill. It is so good. The rapier player comes around the corner here. I go for the spin through, and he is definitely took a bit of damage there, but I think the right call is to get inside and hide. Yeah, a lot of range pressure. I don't want to be chewing that up. I throw a fireball at the door. I know there was nobody there, but my sixth sense was telling me that someone was about to come through the door chasing after me. So usually I'm right with those kinds of hunches, but sometimes I'm not. In that case, I wasn't. So I end up pulling literally no aggro. So I jump on top of the greatsword player, try to put some damage in. I do a good job watching his combos. This is what light armor is all about, especially against a player with heavier and slower weapons like the greatsword. Just watching what he's doing, dodging in between those moves and putting my damage in between. I decide not to stick the fight out. I don't really love fighting inside these outposts when there's a massive cluster like that. Sometimes I do because our team needs to win it, but yeah, for the most part, I'm just trying to pull people away from inside the fight so I can get a little bit of something on my own. This guy does end up chasing, though. I get good damage there with the cross cut, and oh man, I get trapped by their body block. They get good damage into me. As he drops down, I hit him with that stagger. He can't roll as he hits the ground, so that stagger is guaranteed to land as long as I time it. And here's dangerous. I blow my stamina and go for the burnout. I pop the ultimate to give myself immunity to getting interrupted there, just because I know if I get interrupted, I'm a dead man in that situation. And this guy ends up chasing in that chip damage from the fire staff, and now the big burst from the greatsword, and he is finding himself closer and closer to dead. Holy crap, though, this guy is tanky. Oh my god, my fire staff is just tickling him. And the greatsword isn't doing that much more damage either. He manages to just escape. And there's the curse man. If we had had the fire staff burn properly scaling from strength, that would have killed him. He was at like 1% health. So yeah, maybe they'll fix that. Who knows? Either way, another player jumps down and he engages with me. He gets some really good damage to open up. I quickly back up and heal up, go for the burnout through. Again, that burnout, you want to make sure you roll before you cast it so you have enough critical distance so you can actually get that cast off. And then I let the full duration of the crosscut go off there because he's not dodging that last attack. And then I come back inside the outpost. Everybody has left, and 2 more players end up coming in afterwards. 3 players, it looks like. I get a beautiful kill on that player as I go through the door. Fireball's coming in, and I do manage to escape. The healing power with that ultimate, super good stuff. Anyway, guys, here's a quick breakdown of the build if you want to see what I'm running. I might do a full guide to this build. I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know what you guys prefer, but I'm thinking maybe videos where I just show you guys a bunch of gameplay and then a quick breakdown of the build. And if you want to see more, there's the website component. That's kind of what I'm going for now. So if you want to see a bit more detail on the build, feel free to check out that site. There's a link below. If you have an awesome clip you want to see in the New World Top 5 Fights, you can send it to Christopher at pvpnewworld.com. We'll have a new episode coming out really soon for you guys too. And of course, follow me on Twitch if you want to catch that live gameplay. A big thank you to our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Help keeping you safe online. There's a link down below if you guys want to get a deal with them. And of course, a big thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon for supporting the show. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody, just for tuning in and watching. and we'll see what I play next. Have a good night, everybody.